Hi, this is Chris Lee of Southeastern14.com here to talk to you about the SEC Offensive Player of the Year race entering Week 9. And really the conversation right now comes down to two quarterbacks. It's Matt Corral of Ole Miss and it's Bryce Young of Alabama. And both are tremendous players. Both have a chance to get invited to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And frankly, right now, I think both of them deserve it. And when you compare them, it's almost too close to call. But let me go through some interesting things with each quarterback right now. In Bryce Young's favor, he won the head-to-head matchup. He's also thrown for more passing TDs and I think more yards per game passing. But you look at Matt Corral, he's a different player. He runs a lot more. He may be the league's best rushing quarterback in a league where there's a lot of good ones this year. But Matt Corral has really carried Ole Miss at times with his feet. And of course, if you look at the two also, Bryce Young's probably got a better surrounding cast, and I know people will point to the head-to-head matchup, and I think that's fair, but let's also consider that Bryce Young was playing against Ole Miss's defense, and Matt Corral was playing against Alabama's, and I know who I'd rather play against if I were one of the two. Here's my point. It's almost too close to call right now, and again, it really does not matter what we think at the moment. This will get decided, but if you ask me, I'm going to put Corral over Young by the tiniest of margins. Again, too close to call, but if I've got to make a decision right now, that's where I go. I just think Corral has meant, I don't know if he's meant more to his team. That may not be a fair way to say it, but I think he's had more burden to carry. When you're at Alabama, you've got five-star recruits around you all the time. While Ole Miss has recruited good players, it's not the same. And so I think when you look at the whole contribution to date, I'm going to go with Matt Corral. But again, it's too close to call, and I really can't wait to see how the guys settle it down the stretch of the SEC. It should be really exciting. Okay, I've got one more quarterback in there on my list of 14 players this week. That's Arkansas's KJ Jefferson. He is third on my overall list. He's had a great season. I don't have any other quarterbacks on the list this week. Will Rogers of Mississippi State has dropped off, although he's close to being in. But I think right now those three quarterbacks are the best three in the league. You look at the running back crop. It's a really good one this year. You've got two good ones at Texas A&M. You've got Brian Robinson Jr. at Alabama. You've got Chris Rodriguez at Kentucky and Tyler Badie at Missouri, who's probably got the best numbers of any of them. I'm going to go with Robinson right now as my number one because I look at a lot of things. I do look at Pro Football Focus grades. I look at blocking. I look at everything I can get my hands on. I watch as much football as I can every week. Robinson, to me, is the best in the league, not by a huge margin, but because of the way that he has performed in Alabama's biggest games. Alabama's had some. Robinson has answered the bell every time. Isaiah Spiller's got a good argument, too, though, just behind him. He can really catch the ball. He's dynamic in the open space, which you can say the thing about his teammate, Devon Achane also. Both of them are tremendous in space with the ball. But I'm going to give it the edge to Robinson at running back right now. I'm going to go Robinson, Spiller, Chris Rodriguez at Kentucky, Tyler Badie at Missouri, and Achane in that order. Now for A&M, I think it's fair to point out, if Achane and Spiller are on different teams where they're not splitting carries, one of them might have a chance to put up Player of the Year type numbers. I don't think that's going to happen in this league this year with the quarterback situation, but just a thing to say. I think those guys are both tremendous running backs. I watch them. If I were a defensive coordinator, I would not want to see either guy with the ball in space in their hands. But anyway, good year at running back. Those are the five that I've got on the list this week. Pretty decent year at receiver, too. Not what it's been in past years, but Treylon Burks at Arkansas, probably the best in the league right now. Some might argue Jameson Williams at Alabama, who's been really good lately. But I think Burks is the best right now. And again, I look at that, what burden do you carry for your team? What's around you? And Burks really is the guy that you're going to have to stop on Arkansas's offense, along with KJ Jefferson. And he's just played so well in big games throughout his career. And that's why I've got him on that list. Dontarrio Drummond at Ole Miss is a guy that makes the number 14 spot on the list too. He's been higher earlier in the year. The thing with Drummond, though, he's not had a 100-yard receiving game now in 5 games. I think how you play game to game matters. And so that's one small mark against him right now. Tight ends, I've got one. I've got Brock Bowers of Georgia on there. He has hands down been the SEC's best pass catcher so far for tight ends. He's got 7 total touchdowns. One of those came on an end around. I think right now Brock Bowers has got a great argument as the league's best tight end. Jalen Weidermeyer at A&M has been really good, but really has not played that well according to Pro Football Focus. I think the blocking has hurt him a little bit, and frankly, he's not put up the numbers that Bowers had. So right now, I think Bowers, if you pick the first team All-SEC tight end, I think he'd be most teams' pick. And by the way, he's the only Georgia offensive player on that list, too. Finally, offensive linemen. Man, they're hard to know what to do with. I've got Evan Neal on the list out of reputation. He is graded well on Pro Football Focus, which is really the big thing I look at for linemen right now, because they watch every snap and they make determinations, not just what you did well, but what you didn't do so well. Neal's the only lineman on the list, but watch out for Charlie Cross at Mississippi State and Darian Kennard at Kentucky, who's just been tremendous throughout his career. If I had to name 2 more offensive linemen, those would be the 2. Anyway, full list at southeastern14.com. Thanks for watching this video. We'll come back with more later this week.